Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your small side project, an app you built with just one other friend, is now worth $19 billion. You didn't run huge ad campaigns. You didn't have investors pouring in millions. You didn't even try to sell it. Yet, suddenly, the biggest tech company in the world is desperate to buy it from you. Most people wouldn't hesitate. They'd take the money, sign the contract, and walk away richer than they ever imagined. But Jan Koum wasn't like most people. Because to him, WhatsApp wasn't just an app. It was a mission. A mission to create a world where communication was free, private, and unrestricted, the exact opposite of what Facebook stood for. And the craziest part? Facebook had rejected him just a few years earlier. So how did Jan go from a struggling immigrant, living on food stamps, to selling WhatsApp in one of the biggest deals in tech history? And why, after all his success, did he suddenly walk away from it all? To understand the story of WhatsApp, we need to go back to the beginning. Jan Koum was born in a small Ukrainian village in 1976, during the height of Soviet rule. Life was hard. The economy was collapsing. The government controlled everything. People didn't trust each other. And privacy, it didn't exist. The government was always listening. Phone calls were monitored. Conversations were recorded. People were afraid to speak their minds because one wrong word could get you arrested. Jan's family was desperately poor. They lived in a tiny house with no electricity, no running water, and no phone. By the time he was 16, his mother knew they had to leave. She packed what little they had, and together they immigrated to the United States, chasing the dream of a better life. But when they arrived in California, reality hit hard. They had no money. They lived in a one-bedroom apartment, surviving on food stamps. Jan's mother found work as a babysitter, and Jan took a job sweeping floors at a grocery store to help pay the bills. But then, the unthinkable happened. Jan's mother was diagnosed with cancer. Now Jan wasn't just poor, he was alone. His father was still in Ukraine. His mother was fighting for her life. At just 16 years old, he had to become the man of the house. He worked harder, he pushed through, and one day, something happened that changed everything. One afternoon, Jan was walking past a used bookstore. He wasn't looking for anything specific, but then something caught his eye. It wasn't a best-selling novel. It wasn't a book about getting rich. It was a used programming book. At the time, Jan had never even touched a computer before, but something about it fascinated him. He bought the book and started teaching himself how computers worked. At first, he struggled. Programming was like learning an entirely new language, but Jan was used to struggling. So every day, while his classmates were hanging out and having fun, Jan was at the library, buried in programming books. No teachers, no tutors, no fancy courses, just raw determination. And after years of self-learning, something incredible happened. At just 21 years old, Jan landed a job at Yahoo as a security engineer. For the first time in his life, he was making real money. He had gone from sweeping floors to working at one of the biggest tech companies in the world. But instead of feeling like he had made it, Jan felt something else. Something was missing. Even though he had a good job, he felt like a small piece in a giant machine. He didn't want to just work for someone else. He wanted to build something. After nearly a decade at Yahoo, Jan finally made a bold decision. He quit. He was ready to take on something bigger, and the first thing he did? He applied for a job at Facebook. At the time, Facebook was growing fast. It was the future of social media. Jan was confident in his skills. He thought he was the perfect fit. But Facebook? They rejected him. For most people, that would be the end of the story. After getting rejected by Facebook, Jan didn't give up. Instead, he started brainstorming ideas with his friend Brian Acton, another ex-Yahoo employee. They wanted to create something useful. And then, one day, Jan had an idea. It was simple. People just want to talk. But in many parts of the world, texting was expensive. Phone carriers charged per message. What if there was an app that let people message each other for free? No ads, no data collection, just a private, secure way to talk. And just like that, WhatsApp was born. At first, WhatsApp was a failure. Jan and Brian had no funding. They were burning through their savings. It seemed like a terrible idea, until one day, they noticed something strange. People in Spain and Russia were using WhatsApp in a way they never expected. Not just for texting, but for making free calls. That's when it clicked. WhatsApp wasn't just a messaging app, it was something much bigger. So Jan and Brian made one small change. They allowed users to send messages over the internet instead of SMS. And then, boom, WhatsApp exploded. By 2012, it had millions of users. By 2014, it had 500 million users. And that's when Facebook called. Facebook wasn't just interested in WhatsApp, they were desperate to buy it. Facebook Messenger was struggling. But WhatsApp, it was taking over the world. So Mark Zuckerberg made a historic offer, $19 billion. Most people would have said yes immediately. But Jan? He hesitated. Why? Because he hated ads. WhatsApp was built to be private and secure. He didn't want Facebook to turn it into another ad-driven platform, so he made one condition. No ads, no data collection, no tracking. To everyone's shock, Facebook agreed. And just like that, Jan became a billionaire overnight. But then, he did something nobody expected. For a few years after the sale, Jan Koum remained at Facebook, overseeing WhatsApp's operations. At first, things seemed to be going well. Facebook had promised him no ads, no data tracking, and no interference. But slowly, that promise started to break. The moment Facebook acquired WhatsApp, its executives started looking for ways to monetize it. Behind closed doors, internal meetings were already discussing ways to push ads into WhatsApp, despite Jan's resistance. Facebook had spent $19 billion. Jan had built WhatsApp to protect people's privacy. Facebook had bought it to monetize that privacy. And when Jan realized that there was no stopping it, he made a shocking decision. In 2018, Jan Koum walked away from Facebook. He resigned from his own company, leaving behind billions of dollars in unvested stock. And then he disappeared. No interviews, no public appearances. He left Silicon Valley behind and spent his time collecting vintage cars, a passion he had since childhood. And just like that, the man who created one of the most powerful communication tools in history vanished. Today, WhatsApp is still one of the most widely used messaging apps in the world. But it's not the same WhatsApp that Jan Koum built. Since Facebook took over, WhatsApp has been slowly changing. New privacy policies were introduced. And in 2021, when WhatsApp announced that it would start forcing users to share their personal data with Facebook, there was global backlash. Millions of people deleted WhatsApp and switched to competitors like Signal and Telegram. And while WhatsApp continues to exist today, its original purpose has been lost. So the real question isn't just what happened to WhatsApp. The real question is, would you have walked away like Jan Koum? Or would you have taken the billions and stayed? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe.